As Rangers fans, we know that a goaltender is the backbone of a hockey team. At Abundant Wealth Management, we are your financial backbone, offering financial planning, wealth management, tax planning, and estate planning services. To schedule your free consultation, head to www.abundant-wealth.com. That's www.abundant-wealth.com. Abundant Wealth Management. Live, plan, triumph.
You're listening to Rangers Radio, your home for end-to-end coverage of the New York Rangers. With your hosts, Brendan Azoff, Zach Domino, and Steve Pappas. Blueshirts fans, the puck drops now.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Rangers Radio. We got a mobile show today. Zook and I are in our home offices, but we got Steven on the road outside Pearson Airport, the infamous Pearson Airport in Toronto. He's going to be at the game tomorrow night. And luckily for him, it is a road game. So that means that the Rangers will probably score at least one goal, and they might actually get the W there. But we're going to talk all about that. I know he's got to hop off quick. So before I toss it to Zook and we do our thing, Steven, what are your thoughts on the first 5 games? I know we talked about the first one, and we were like, let's see how they progress. 2-2 over the next 4, and they actually look pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, I remember trying to talk you off the edge after game one last
That's because I was
week.
there.
I get it, and obviously they have a good outing against Buffalo the next night, and just dominate a bad Buffalo team, and then they go on the road again and dominate a bad Pittsburgh team. Is a little bit of redemption for opening night, and it's been the story, right? Like, they have been a dominant team through the first 5 games of the year, and we've talked about it. We've talked about it in our group chat. I think I've talked to friends about this. Like, I'm so confident in a team that has not scored, is literally an NHL record setter for not scoring a goal on home ice to start the year. I don't think I'm so confident in this team right now, because what did we talk about last year? What was like the big thing that we harped about last year? They were easy to play against, and they were soft. This team is not easy to play against, and they are not soft. We have Mika shoving guys in front of the net, like, after the whistle, just to be a dick. Like, what are we talking about? Like, that doesn't happen. And it starts with your captain, JT Miller. Has he been great? No. Is he hurt? Yeah. But is he instilling some sort of culture into these guys? It's evident. Like they are busting their balls to start the year. If we were sitting here and they were 3-2 or 4-1, and we're watching these games and they're getting hemmed in their own zone, and Igor's bailing them out, and they get like two fluky goals in a game, and you're like, wow, we won 2-1, and but it's not really convincing or anything. Like, this is a team that, if they had some sense of goal scoring, and I think that's the other side to this story, is two things can be true. Yeah, they're playing great, and they're getting bad puck luck, and they probably should have won some of these games. However, they're not the most skilled team in the league, right? Like, I mean, outside of Mika's snake bitten. Mika seems to always be snake bitten, but he's shooting the puck, which is a good thing, right? Like, Mika's not passing up shots. Panarin has not looked good, and I've been very vocal about Panarin. He has not looked good. He admitted that he's not been good. We'll give him 10 games to get into the season. By then, you'd expect him to be back to his normal self. Trocheck's obviously now on LTIR. He's out for long term. And Miller's hurt, and Cooley's been awful. So, outside that top 6, there's only a handful of guys that's really been producing. Your bottom 6 has been incredible. I mean, there were unintelligent hockey fans at the start of this season that were sitting here and just dogging on the Rangers' bottom 6, not understanding that, Noah Laba exists, and Rempe, Carrick, and Edstrom are like the best fourth line in the National Hockey League. And we said it last year. They just don't have the skill to finish these plays. Like Adam Edstrom has 15 breakaways. That's an unofficial stat, but that's what I see. He's had 15 breakaways in 4 games. He hasn't scored a single one of them. Sam Carrick is making Connor McDavid moves in front of Connor McDavid, just unable to score because he has no goal scoring bone in his body. Matt Rempe is Matt Rempe. He's not really going to do much off the rush. But he's had his fair share of chances in front of the net as well. He parks that big ass in front of the net, and he's able to get some rebound chances and hasn't been able to finish. So, unfortunately, for Brodzinski and Radish were awful. Like I forgot that they were playing yesterday. They ended up basically benching that third line. And for a team that is struggling to score goals right now, it would make sense to infuse that young scoring into the lineup. And if you are going to play that third line, you know, I think Perot and Hoffman can figure it out, or Berard can figure it out on that line. Laba's been able to create that offense. That whole line's been able to create the offense, and I think basically a second kid line, that kid line 2.0 could benefit them. But Trocheck being out sucks. There's a lot of things I need to say because I have maybe 5 minutes to get off, so I'm just rambling at the moment. I've never been more confident in a team that is scoreless on home ice through 3 games and literally setting NHL records. They are fine. They're going to look good. I think they're going to beat Toronto tomorrow, and I think they're going to beat Montreal in Montreal, and I think it's just a matter of can they come back. They play Philip Gustafson on home ice on Monday, and then San Jose, who can't stop a nosebleed, next Thursday. So at some point you'd think they're going to score at home. It's just a matter of when that's going to be. But man, I'm a negative guy. I'm admit that. They look fucking good. They look really good to start the year.
Well, based on this comment, I'm not sure if they're trolling or what, but nobody's panicking after 5 games. I don't think that's anything that's been said. And they might be 4th in the league in scoring because they've played the most games in the league. And they've scored 10 goals in their 2 road games. They've been shut out for 180 minutes on home ice, and I think that's what we're alluding to here. So
you can't look at the average
really
of scoring for them because the standard deviation is so much, like Brendan's saying, like it's 2 games. And the other side of that is like their goals against, even though, look, I said a lot of crazy things at the start of the year in terms of my predictions. I did predict this team was going to lead the league in goals against average. And that's the other side of it. Like a lot of the goals they've given up are empty nets, and they have some of the best stats of goals against with even playing the most games in the year. So I think we're all kind of on the same page, and it's what you want to focus on. I think the 2 things going on with this team is they aren't that good of a team, but they're playing such good hockey. That's like the 2 things, right? And it's like, what do you want to lean into? The fact that you just look at this roster, like our second line wingers are Will Cooley and Connor Sheary. Like, what's your ceiling with that? With the other side being like, I watched this team the last 2 games. Those were like better than any game they've played in like years. Like definitely better than any game they played last year. And it's like, it's so back and forth with what you want to think about it, because I think if you rated us, like Brendan's a little lower on this team and I'm a little higher on this team in terms of how they're playing. The one thing I will say is they do have to win games, because it's just human nature. If they continue to play like this and they don't win, eventually they're not going to play like this for 10, 15, 20 games in a row and continue to lose. So they do have to win, but I am confident they are going to pick off some wins. They got to. They're just playing that good of hockey. And it's not like they're playing okay hockey and losing games. They're playing great hockey. Like by any analytic stretch that you want to look at or any measurement, they're playing great hockey. Their structure is great. You can talk about their forwards. Defensively, they don't even have great players outside of Gavrikov and Fox, and I don't think Gavrikov has been amazing yet. And the structure that they have, the shots that they're giving up to Igor, they're letting him see all the shots. The high danger chances are in the Rangers, are for the Rangers. You look at the amount of slot shots we got last night that either Skinner was saving or Mika or someone was just missing, like a grade A chance. Like, there's none of that going the other way. The way this team is playing hockey is right, and it sucks that like the skill isn't there to match it. But Skinner even said it himself last night. Like, he's surprised when Pickard told him after the game that we haven't scored a goal at home through 3 games, because he's like, I just watched this team play for 60 minutes. Like, this is a tough team to play. They're getting a lot of chances on you. They're playing hockey the right way. And you said it, Steven, like, imagine if we were 3-2 or 4-1 or looking the opposite. That happened last year. Like, we were fool's gold. I have Devils fans texting me that hate the Rangers. Like, wow, this Rangers team is the opposite of what they've been over the past few years, where like they're winning games because of goalie, because of power play goals, because they're winning when they shouldn't be. And now it's like we're analytics darlings and can't put a puck in the back of the net. It's like the reverse Rangers. It's the craziest thing ever. But even Sullivan said it today. The sample size is small. I'm really hoping that he keeps, like, you got to make some changes. The kids in general, maybe put in Morrow, put in Perot, but you just got to keep playing the same way. And Steven said it himself. I think JT Miller is great for that because he even said it after the game. Look, we're going to be able to sleep okay knowing that we're playing good hockey. And these guys know what a sample size is and what a small sample size is and what you can do over 82 games. But to agree with Brendan's point on, the outlook of this team, they do got to start winning some games soon, though, just to keep those good feelings. You can't go from 2-3 to 2-8 and then sell me like, hey, we're top 5 in goals XG. Like, eventually you got to convert that into real stuff. I'm just of the opinion we are.
That's the biggest thing for me, right? And Zook, I love to look at the season in 5-game sample sizes, right?
Yep.
And the first 5 games that they've played outside of the one that I happen to be fortunate enough to attend, they've looked very good in all 3 zones. They just haven't been able to score. And I get that. But at the same time, I am not fully bought into the fact that this is the version of the New York Rangers that you're going to see over the course of an 82-game season. And that's where I'm kind of hesitant to say, yeah, they've looked good and the goals will come, because I don't know if they're going to continue to look as dominant. Now, they do have great goaltending that will save them. It looks like Mike Sullivan's structure has been bought into, at least through the last 4 games by the team, which will bode well for them in the long run. And yes, the goals will come. Eventually, something will get shot off somebody's ass and it'll just bounce in. That's how this sport works. It's just very hard for me to get high on the level of play when you don't see the results, because I know that soon enough there will be a time where, like you said last year, we saw some results, but the level of play was down here. So I'm trying to keep that middle ground. They're 5th in the league in expected goals percentage, right? They've played the most games in the league so far at 5. So we're starting to see that this is who they are. And it's really just a matter of adding some more finish to this roster. Like you said, Will Cooley, I don't want to say he's looked bad, because I think he's looked like he has the last year or so.
Playing on a line he doesn't belong, in a role he doesn't belong.
He's a third line forward, and I think he's a really, really good third line forward in this league, but you're asking a little too much from him if you expect him to be a 25-30 goal guy. Connor Sheary, I think, has played his role well, but at best he's a 3rd or 4th line player in the NHL at this stage of his career.
Was he hurt last year, or did he just get 5 games because of talent?
Yeah, I think he was just optioned down. So
like, on a good team, he's maybe your 13th forward, getting 4th line minutes, and
now
we're relying on him. But to his credit, in the Sullivan system, again, you can't play him many games at this second line and expect to be good. He was fine. He's fine.
Yeah, I don't think that anybody's been bad. I think the only player to their standards that's been bad so far is Artemi Panarin. He's struggled through 5 games. And when you're struggling to score, you turn to your number 1 offensive weapon in Panarin and say, hey, bro, if you can carry us a little bit in these 5 games, we're 4-1 or 5-0. And I said to Steven off the air before we went on live here, I said, the reality of the situation is if they scored just 2 goals a game over the first 5 games, they'd be 5-0. Because even the games that they've lost, right? They lost 2-0 yesterday. One of those 2 goals was an empty net. They lost 3-0 game 1. 2 of the 3 goals were empty net goals. The goaltending for the Rangers has not given up more than 1 goal per game while they've been on the ice. It's been an astounding defensive start and goaltending start for this team. Yet on the flip side, it's been just as astoundingly bad offensively when they're at home. And it's funny to me that this is happening in the Centennial season, because they just did something that hasn't been done in nearly 100 years. So it's like their way of celebrating. But yeah, they set the longest goalless drought to start a season on home ice since, I believe, it was a team that doesn't exist anymore in 1928.
They play baseball now.
The baseball team was playing hockey back then. No, but it's crazy to see. Yes, it will turn around. Yes, I'm happy that they get to go on the road tomorrow in Toronto. They'll free up a little bit knowing that they've had road success. But I also don't think this is a new thing. I think that the Rangers at home, outside of their President's Trophy year, have been around a 500 team at home. MSG is not a home ice advantage for this team. I don't know if it's whether other teams come into MSG and it wakes them up a little bit, or if the Rangers fandom is just more suits during the regular season than fans, especially if you look at postseason videos compared to regular season. But the Rangers have not struggled, that's not the right word, but they've been average or bled MSG, and they've always been a very good road team. So it seems like more of the same. But yeah, if they play this way over 82 games, they're going to score on home ice. It's just a shame that they've wasted a couple of really good efforts at home. And like I said to you in the chat, bro, it's pretty much this simple. If they miss the playoffs by 2 or 3 points, you could look right back to the games early on in the season. And I know after game 5, it seems like that's so far away. But how many times do we see game 82, it comes down to the wire, and you start searching the schedule, searching where you could have had an extra point or two, and this is that. The Yankees just had that happen with Toronto. They tied in the standings, right? The only reason they tied in the standings.
The Mets just had that. They missed the game by half season.
That's what I'm saying. It happens all the time. It seems so far away, but it comes back to bite you. So I'm trying to keep myself even-keeled. I like what I've seen in terms of gameplay. I don't like what I've seen in terms of results, and that's only because of the gameplay. If they've played poorly and they lost, okay, they're not a good team. But they've played like a good team and just haven't scored. And I don't even have any type of explanation for it because I've never seen it before. None of us that are doing this show or watching right now have ever seen anything like what the Rangers have done over their first 3 home games.
Yeah, it comes down to like the top end talent isn't there. That's like the explanation from it. They don't have finishers. They have very few goal scorers, and the top guy Panarin just isn't playing good.
Yeah.
The other side, and this is the hope, and this is obviously glass half full, is like what you're saying could easily happen. There's 50, I don't even know what the percent chance is, but let's just say it's 50-50. We can look back and miss the playoffs by 2 games and be like, and you're going to be like, I told you, like, this is what happens when you go 2 and 3 in games. You can't lose games you're supposed to win. The other side of that is, you finish 2nd or 3rd in the Metro. You're in the playoffs comfortably, and we're sitting here in January in the midst of playing good hockey. Like, yeah, we've been a good team even since the beginning. We just didn't have the results early on, but the foundation that we saw was there. And we brought up baseball, and it's always bad whenever you make whenever you say something and relate it to the Mets, especially this season, because what happened to them is absolutely awful. But let's just talk about the offense. The Mets offense was analytically amazing through the first half of the year, and they couldn't score any runs, and they were winning because of pitching. But you look at, barrel rate, you look at like exit velocity, you look at all that stuff, and it's like eventually you're going to start scoring runs, and the Mets did. From like July until the last 2 weeks of the season, they were the best team in baseball. So from the Rangers standpoint, why I relate that is because the Mets pitching was always fugazi. It was always going to go like that. I don't think the Rangers defense is fugazi. I think the structure is there, plus Igor. They're always going to be there defensively, where if they just keep performing offensively like they do, pucks will start going to the back of the net. Yeah, you're going to have games where Igor Quick throws out a stinker and you're just going to lose because this team isn't going to win games 6-5. Like even when they were bad last year and in recent years, they were able to win some games like that. But the offense that they need, I think we'll both agree, and you even said it yourself with the 2-goal thing, isn't tremendous offense. They could be sub-average to average offensively and be a great hockey team because how good they are defensively and with Igor. But the next 5 games are huge because what we'll both agree on, regardless of what we're thinking about these first 5 games, are if they're 1-4 in analytics darlings, it doesn't matter anymore. You can't be 3-7. You can't be 5-10. And you can't be 10-25 and look, oh, we're top 5 in expected goals score. At some point, you play the 82 games that you're being hypothetical on and projecting these stats on. So you can't let this go more than that. I think the Toronto game is a very interesting game because, again, that's a good team that we're going to be able to they're good offensively. Let's see how our defensive structure actually is. We saw it was great against the Oilers. They may give up some goals, and we are on the road. So let's see if we can actually put some pucks in the back of the net. But look, as much as we say this team isn't great offensively, like Mika's going to get 20 plus, hopefully. Panarin's going to get 20 plus, hopefully. Loff, hopefully at least 15. Cooley, like goals are going to be scored by this team eventually. And like you said, what's going to happen is next home game, Matthew Robertson is going to throw in, it's going to hit off someone's head, and it's going to go in, and then we're going to score 5 because that's what hockey is. Yep. We did that last year with a Braden Schneider goal, and the floodgates opened that game when he put one in off someone's head. So we're okay right now. We're in a weird spot between, I think everyone realizes the top end talent isn't there, and player-wise, we may not be a great team, but the system is so great. And how many teams ran past the Rangers last year that we could say had less skill or top-end players, but played good hockey down the stretch. And we got to be that team this year. And it's a different feeling as a Rangers fan because we've always been on the other side of it, of analytically not being there, but because of power play goals and because of goaltending, winning games we shouldn't. Now it's our time, right? Now it's our time to play the game the right way and be better off for it. And we'll see. The Rangers, kind of that laughing stock where wouldn't it make sense if we were 30-52 and analytics darlings in our 100th year after years of after years of being the opposite and people saying that we're fake, the one year that we're real, we can't win games. But it's very different from last year when I was mad or turning off the game after 2 minutes or second period. Like, this team stinks. Like, I was frustrated yesterday being like, we were way better than the team that made it to back-to-back Stanley Cups with the best player in hockey. Like, if someone who didn't watch hockey ever watched that game, they would be like, the Oilers have no offense. The Rangers absolutely dominated that game. And if they knew a little bit about hockey, they would say, sometimes in hockey, in a low-scoring sport, the better team doesn't always win. It's not like football. It's not like basketball, where if you're the better team for the game, you're going to win most of the time. So just win. Just like if this team goes 4-1 in their next 5 and looks the same as they've looked, I think everyone's going to be extremely happy, but you got to win games.
Yeah, you do. And there's a happy medium that has to be found. And you kind of alluded to that, right? We're not looking at this team going, they need to score 4 or 5 to win, but you have to score more than 0. And that's an unwritten rule. You're never going to win a hockey game if you don't score, right? So when you watch them play, you take the positives, right? And you've kind of hit them all on the head. Their defense looks good. I think at times they still get a little bit careless, but when they do, that's why you have Igor Shesterkin and goalie kind of erases that.
And I think to just piggyback off that real quick, it's because besides the top 2 guys, they're really not skilled or good. It's the structure that's so sound.
Yeah.
But the gap Schneider was leaving last night were like ridiculous at times, and like Vakanainen sucks.
Yeah, he's
Robertson's been okay. Borgen, they alluded to it on the call last night. I think it was really good. Like, if you give him third line right defensive minutes against bottom 6, he's great. But you ask him to do anything other than that, he's going to struggle. So I think that's why at times they look sloppy defensively, because it's not the skill there, but it's the structure that they can lean on. That's way better than, the skill that these guys actually have, because it's not a good 6 playing defense for us right now overall. But they're finding a way to play well defensively because they're finding their spots. The zone defense is helping them. So it's such a weird team, man.
It's a weird sport. And it's a cruel sport. And when you look at how well they're playing, and then you consider that both Artemi Panarin and JT Miller missed pretty much the entirety of the preseason due to injuries that, for all we know, are still lingering. You look at the fact that Vincent Trocheck's now on LTIR. You look at Carson Soucy, who, love him or hate him, depending on where you lie on that spectrum, he's now out, likely long-term as well. Will Borgen, who has been pretty good in his minutes, is now banged up. He's day-to-day. He missed practice today. They're dealing with a heavy amount of injuries through only 5 games of the season. And that's not where you want to be this early on in the year either. So it's like you got to take everything, weigh it how you will, and judge it how you will. But when I look at the Rangers overall, I see a team that desperately needs that influx of young skill. You said Noah Laba had a limited role last night because Sullivan truly did not trust that third line with the way Brodzinski and Radish had played that game. But his speed brings a different element. And when I watch this team, I keep thinking to myself, as much as I agreed with sending down Perreault to start the year, right? As much as I agree he could probably use some seasoning, do you not think that Mike Sullivan and the system that he's implemented is a better place for him to learn hockey at the NHL level than it is at the AHL? And we're not asking him to jump into the top 6 right away, because I think that him with Laba on a third line, where if you add a Berard or an Othman, or even if you kept a Radish, a veteran guy there to kind of help them along, might not be a bad fit. So there are options coming, and I don't think they're going to make any moves that drastic this early on, barring injury. But when I look at somebody like Scott Morrow getting called up, if he gets called up and he's watching from the press box as the 7th defenseman while Vakanainen's playing, to me, that's a mistake. Yeah. Even if Borgen is good to go, you played Vakanainen 2-shift the entire third period against Edmonton. There were a lot of comments about Schneider's gap on that goal that wound up getting scored by Trent Frederick. His gap's that way because he's anticipating the puck to get rimmed. Once that puck doesn't get rimmed and it comes back the other way, if you watch the play, Frederick and Vakanainen are stick to stick. All Vakanainen has to do is hold his ground with Trent Frederick, and instead he waves it. No reason to do what he did, and it goes past him, and now he's caught flat-footed.
And that was
all Vakanainen. It was very unlucky, but that's all Vakanainen.
Yeah, it went from unlucky to a bad play, and I'll even take it a step further than you. Like, I'm at the point where I'm asking Perreault to play top 6 minutes. Like, I'm sliding him into sliding him into that second line. I think putting him with JT Miller is the perfect guy to put him with. I struggle a little bit if you drop down Sheary or Cooley because, like we're saying, like Cooley's definitely a third-line player. But if he's a third-line player, sure as hell Connor Sheary is. So, like,
well, I think in that regard, you put Sheary down to where he's probably more comfortable.
And I think Sheary, like, it's funny because how bad those other two are, Sheary drastically improves that third line right away.
Yeah.
Like, and then you put him with a guy like Laba. I think Sheary's a great guy to play with Laba right now. The one. As positive as I am, the one thing I'm nervous about is that bottom 6. Because the third line right now, if you don't call anyone up, Brodzinski and Radish have been so bad that they're unplayable. And I'm just low on Rempe. Like, he's playing great, but like, and Carrick's playing great, and Edstrom's playing great. I'm not sold that that could be your third line every single night. And that's what it has to be right now. And it was last night. And I could be wrong. And I hope that I'm wrong. And it's funny because I'm positive about everything else. But like I think you have to bring up Perreault or someone just to knock someone down to that third line where that third line's playable. So instead of playing the Rempe, Edstrom, Carrick 14 minutes and the other line 7 minutes, depending on how because those two lines should be the hot hand is getting the minutes every night. And I think that's what that fourth line could do. Every other night, it could be that hot line, but then there's going to be nights where that line just doesn't have it. And then also if that third line doesn't have it, then you're asking too much from a top 6 where the top end talent just isn't playing like top end talent right now. So it's to improve the top 6, but also improve the bottom 6 by introducing Perreault. And I think just adding Perreault and just adding Morrow, like the team doesn't need that much offensively. But those two could give it to you like so easily. Like we know Morrow is going to change the game offensively from this team from a blue line standpoint. And then Perreault, I mean, I don't know if they played a second or third game yet, but that first game, it's the most simple pass that he made to score that goal, but such a beautiful pass. Like so many people are looking so many other ways. He's just tossing it 2 feet to the slot to let Trey Fix-Wolanski just run right into it and put it in. And it's like, if he just does that to JT Miller or does it to other guys who like, we need just that little bit of creativity, which is nice because we're not asking like a guy like Perreault to come in and we need to score 3, 4, 5 goals a game. We need to find that fix. It's can Perreault have 1 minute of greatness where he makes one good play and we score 1 goal and win a game 2-1? I sure as hell think he can do that.
Yeah, I think so too. And you can't break up the fourth line right now just because of how they played the first 5 games. But I think in my ideal world, if I had the pen and paper that was determining the lineup every single night, I look at this team and I say, you know what you're going to get from Matt Rempe. I think this kid has worked extraordinarily hard on his game, and it shows. He's not taking stupid penalties through 5 games. Every time the puck is in deep, he's the first on it. He's retrieving it. He's actually doing his role well. But you have a more skilled, better version of Matt Rempe and Adam Edstrom already on your roster. Mm-hmm. Radish would slot down one peg. He would be your fourth line right wing. I think that's more of a suited spot for him. Rempe would be a scratch. Then you have a couple of spots that are open, right? You could move down Sheary and Cooley. They could play with Lob as your third line. And then you bring those 2 kids. You bring Perreault and you bring Othman up, and that's your that's your second line. And all of a sudden now you have 2 young kids that have skill, that have offensive upside, that can be playing with a Zibanejad or Miller, depending on how you slot that gives them that guy that's willing to get the pucks. Because I think right now, when you look at the first line, right, you have Mika, you have Panarin, and you have Lafreniere. That first line doesn't really work because neither of those guys are really puck retrieval guys. They're all guys that need the puck on their stick after somebody's retrieved it, which is why Trocheck fits so well with those 2. When you look at the third line, or the second line, excuse me, JT Miller and Will Cooley are both the bulldog mentalities that are going to go in on the forecheck. But the problem is the guy that they're going to give the puck to right now is Connor Sheary, who is not this offensive stalwart. And then you look at the third line, clearly wasn't playable because Brodzinski had a really bad game. Radish had a really bad game. And the fourth line, they're just going to work their tails off, which they've done. So there's a little bit of construction that needs a work here. I just think that there are better lineup options that they're not going to make right now because of how early it is, but that would give them that lift. And listen, all of this is a moot point because they have scored 10 goals on the road, right? So until they go out tomorrow, they play Toronto on the road, a team that in Toronto that hasn't played up to their standards so far this early portion of the season. If they go out tomorrow and they win the game 4-2, right? You can kind of put that to bed and just say the home issues scoring are going to fix themselves. But they really need to enhance that roster come the deadline. And once the deadline comes around, they have 2 first-round picks to use. If you're not calling up Brennan Othmann by that point, try to move him and get somebody back that could be a serviceable top 6 forward. But their bottom 6 for the foreseeable future is set. They have these guys. They have Radish for another year after this. Sheary you could bring back on a cheap deal. You have Cooley as your third-line center. You have Laba. You have this fourth line intact. If you're looking to improve this team, it's a pretty simple fix. You got to find a couple of wingers. Don't need to be the high-end skill guys like the McDavids that everybody's talking about, but just guys that are offensive-minded that could fit that second-line role, and you have a team in place now that can score enough to win, because that's really all they're looking to do. It's pretty simple where, yes, if Trocheck was healthy, the bottom 6 should be Cooley, Laba, Berard. I completely agree with that.
See, I think
crazy. That Will Cooley is a good third-line player.
I'm crazy, and I'm not set on this. I could potentially tinker, and again, it all is included in the kids coming up and playing well. Imagine if there was a world where Trocheck was your 3C because Mika could continue to play center, and he's not all the way back yet, but he's playing good hockey. He is playing good hockey.
Mika
if you imagine a third line,
too many times in his game where he looks like he's just. He's all loosey-goosey. Like, if you watch the play, there was a third period yesterday. It was a short little chip pass from Lafreniere into the half wall in the offensive zone. And Mika does his little reach skate thing. He gets completely muscled off the puck because he's got no leverage when he does that, and the puck goes the other way. Whereas you watch somebody like a JT Miller, they're not reaching for it. They're going through it. And that's where these turnovers happen. So there's still too many portions of his game. But honestly, in all fairness to Mika, his game has never been that style, right? And he's doing it more so in the first 5 games this year. It's just, I think he's back, but I think that if you really want to have depth, he's better suited on your wing just because you don't have wing talent right now.
Everything you said is true. I'm just imagining a world with a third line of Trocheck, Cooley, and Laba. And I don't even know if they want to tinker with that because I don't even know if Laba can play wing. That may just be a stupid assumption by me that he could play your third line wing. But that's a third line right there. And again, you never want to make your third line good at the demise of your top 6. So everything you're saying is true. If you're making your third line great to then thank you. I appreciate that. She's yet to hear the Rangers goal song, which is tough. My friends make fun of me for, but she's gonna get to hear it, my daughter. But I mean, in a perfect world, if Mika can find it enough where you can run out Mika, Lafreniere, and Panarin, Othmann and Perreault do change the game, and you put Miller between them, then your third line is Trocheck, which we all agree he's probably a 3C that can play 2C, who was brought here to be a 3C. Trocheck, Laba, and Cooley is literally an elite third line. And then your fourth line, Matt put it here as well. Imagine Sheary being the one dropped to the fourth line over a guy like Radish because you have so much depth. And then you're running out of Edstrom, Carrick, Sheary. I mean, that's a deep team. That may be putting too much pressure on Mika at center and the 2 young guys in Othmann and Perreault in the top 6. But that's a great team. I still hesitate a little bit about Laba being – I still hesitate a little bit. Laba is your full-time 3C. I think he's more of a story than actually playing well in the 5 games that we see. I think he's playing fine, but the reason that they didn't play is Brodzinski and Radish, obviously, but I don't think Laba's out there lighting the world up.
But I think he brings an element that they desperately need with his speed.
You can definitely tinker with the team if you bring up the two kids and Trocheck comes back. The other side of it is no one knows how long Trocheck's going to be out. It's a minimum 10 games, 24 days since, I think, October 11th. It could be that, like, nobody knows. It's hockey. He's an upper body injury. They tell you upper body or lower body. He can literally have a broken body, or he can have like a ding that he's going to come back in 10 games. Like, no one knows. And that's kind of the interesting thing about hockey. But if Trocheck comes back, if they call up Morrow, if they call up Perreault, and they call up Othman, at least it gives us options to have this conversation. Like right now, we're pigeonholed, kind of, with what we have to do with forwards because the young guys are in the AHL and because Trocheck isn't healthy. At least if all of that was to come to fruition, we'd have options. The other side of this all being, you got to worry about tinkering because the analytics are saying things are going right now. Like, it's going to be interesting. Like, when does Sullivan make the drastic changes if we're losing games, but the analytics still look good? Like, how many games can he let this go? And that's why I think your philosophy is the good one. Like, you got to look at this season right now in another 5-game stretch. And I think you give it another 5 games. And if you're 1-4 or 2-3, look, you're kind of in the halfway house at 4-6. But if you're 1-4 and the analytics are looking good, you got to do something different. Like, you're not going to sell me on we're top 5 and X goals for if we're not winning games. You got to tinker at that point. I think the kids are coming sooner than later, though.
Yeah, I think that this group has until November. Like, if I was giving a time frame, let me see. We know the stat. We've talked about this on the show before. The teams that are in the playoff spot at Thanksgiving break, 75% of them make the actual NHL playoffs. So to me, that's your stretch run, right? You have until the first week of November. If you're still going through some scoring droughts and issues, if you still have Trocheck banged up and you have some LTIR space to use,
7 games.
It might be the time. They have 7 games. So Trocheck has to miss a minimum of 10 games in 24 days. That's retroactive to the 11th. So he's already missed 2.
That is the 7. No, he missed. Is the 11th? Does the game on the 11th count?
No, because he started that game against Buffalo.
It's been 2. So he has, and then, so November 1st in Seattle would be the last game he would have to miss. And then November 4th is home against Carolina. Yeah.
So he's got a minimum basically of another 3 weeks that he has to miss just because of the day-wise time frame. But when you look at what they have available right now, I think Sheary could be that forward wing.
I'm just getting a call from the doctor real quick. I'll be right back.
No worries. I'll keep going. I think Sheary could be the 4th right wing. I think that very easily so could a Radish. I don't think it's a fair assessment to say they played 5 games. This is what you're going to get. But I think that the contracts that Chris Drury gave out in the offseason to the Radish and Parsonen and those kind of guys, just to have Parsonen sit in the scratch box and just to have Taylor Radish not live up to the expectations and give him a 2-year deal, not just a 1-year deal, has really kind of put a lock onto what Sullivan can and cannot do to tinker with this roster. And when you look at the overall grand scheme of things, the Rangers are in need of one thing right now, and that's some scoring talent. And they cannot afford to call people up because their back's against the cap wall, and they have a roster full of bottom 6 guys. If you look at this roster right now, I would say that 8 of the 12 forwards are prototypical bottom 6 forwards. And when you're trying to win hockey games and score goals, and that's where your main issue is coming from, that's going to be a problem. So the biggest issue that they have right now is that they need some top 6 scoring talent. Their best top 6 scoring option over the last 5-6 years has been Artemi Panarin, and right now he has not produced. He's got a couple of assists. He's got no goals on the season. He's gone through the motions for the first 5 games, has not looked like himself. He has not attacked any of the high-scoring areas. He's deferred when he should have shot, and he's shot when he should have deferred. It's been a little bit of a mixed bag of what you're going to get from him, and I think that that's kind of where you see these goal issues come from. So if you're in these comment sections right now, you're listening, feel free to hit it up while Zook's taking a little bit of a call. More than happy to chat hockey with you guys. We got a lot of action that's going to be coming up. They play 6 of their next 8. Well, now 5 of their next 7, I should say, are against Canadian teams. So we'll see how they stack up there. They got a Western Canada road trip coming up next week. So if you like the late night hockey games, that will be for you. But through 5 games, they played well. Unfortunately, the results have not been to the liking that we've had so far. But if you ask me the question of would I rather them have played well through 5 games and be 2-3, or have what happened last year where they're 5-0-1 through 6, and then that season kind of spiraled from there. I'd rather say play well through the first 5 games, be 2-3, and now fingers crossed that they don't spiral, because that would be the icing on the cake. But 180 minutes, no matter how you slice it, of being shut out on home ice is just not good. It's just not a good thing to see. I was at the opening night game against Pittsburgh. That was probably their most lifeless game of the 5, which is fitting that that's the one that I was there for. But that game did not give me a good feeling in my stomach. The last 4 that we've watched have given me a much better feeling. The 2 on the road where they finally came alive gave me a really good feeling. The last 2, you're like, okay, they played well, but you got to find a way to score. And I don't know about you guys, but it feels like there's the sense right now where if they get that first one on home ice in the first period of their next home game, it's going to be a 5 or 6 spot that goes on the board. It's just like they're all waiting for that one guy to break through. I thought we had it with Sam Carrick last night against Edmonton. He walked down the right side, ripped up a shot off the bar. He celebrated like it was in. It was not in, but if that goes in at that point, ties the game at 1, I think it's just a matter of time before they get the second and third and they start to pull away. So you got to keep this momentum going. You got to keep the play going. And then eventually you got to hope that the puck luck finds you. I think it was Mika Zibanejad that was shooting like 22% a couple of years ago when he had that 40-goal year. And everybody's like, oh, his shooting percentage is going to come back down. Well, it's the same thing with the Rangers on home ice right now. They're shooting 0% because they have not scored. That's not going to stay that way for much longer. This team is going to bounce back. They're going to find ways to score on home ice. It's just a matter of keeping their game consistent throughout. And you cannot waste great goaltending. You cannot waste great defensive play. And the fact that when there's not a goalie pull, they've given up 4 goals over their first 5 games, and they're only 2-3 in those 5 games, it leaves you scratching your head a little bit. Not a situation you really want to be in. You want to make sure that when you have opportunities to get points on the board in the standings, that you get those points when you can, regardless of if it's game 1, game 2, game 3, game 4, game 5, or game 80, 81, 82. And I know that I talked to the boys after the game last night. We were texting back and forth, and Zook, Steven were both very optimistic about the way that they've played. And I was optimistic about it too. But the one thing I said was if they wind up at the end of the season in a tight race for a wild card spot or a playoff spot, you're going to look back and go, where could we have found points? And the fact that they left 4 points potentially on the board over their last 2 home games by simply not getting 1 or 2 goals is a tough pill to swallow. And I mean, kudos to Charlie Lindgren, kudos to Stuart Skinner, not Hunter Skinner, former Rangers prospect. They did their job. They made the saves. They made more saves than they should have. But at the same time, it comes down to finishing. And when you watch Sam Carrick knife through Edmonton's defense in the third period yesterday, make a great move glove side and chip it into the only spot where Skinner's glove was, you scratch your head. When you watch Mika Zibanejad rip a one-timer, get everything on it, and just find Charlie Lindgren's glove, you scratch your head. And unfortunately, through 3 home games, that's all the Rangers have been able to do is kind of scratch their head and go, how can we get offense? And then you look at the flip side, and their power plays 2 for 14 to start the year. They had 3 chances to score power play goals against Edmonton and get back in that game, and they couldn't. And then their former teammate and, career Ranger up until this year, Chris Kreider's in Anaheim. He's got 4 goals in 3 games. He's got 3 power play goals in those 3 games. And you're like, that's what the Rangers are missing right now. That net front guy that can get his stick on shots. They haven't had that yet. If you look at the goals that they've scored, I think they have 1 deflection goal, and that was a JT Miller deflection in the win against Pittsburgh, I believe, or it might have been the win against Buffalo. But that's how you get the goals, right? When you're struggling to score, it's bodies in front, it's redirections, it's a couple of bounces here and there, everybody crashing the net. Unfortunately, the Rangers just simply have not gotten that type of commitment to the net front yet. All their net front chances have been from the slot. The net front chances that they've had that are actually within the paint were in the Buffalo and Pittsburgh wins, and you saw the results there. So I think that they're looking at a situation where you can't be too high on the way you've played because you've lost, but you can't be too low on the losses because you played well. And if they continue to play well, the results will come. It's early on, 82-game season, but like I said, you got to make sure that you get points where you can, especially when you're going to be in a division that looks like it's going to be top-heavy again with Carolina, Washington, and New Jersey seemingly finding their games early on. But That's a lot. I'm just waiting for Zook to come back. I know he's on the phone right now. If anybody wants to hit the comments, mention a couple of things that you've seen over these last 2 home games where they've been shut out, or over the last 4 games since we had our last episode. I think my tune has changed a little bit. I came on after the home opener and the opening night of the season and was pretty disappointed with what I witnessed in person, but they've looked a lot better over the last 4 games, and unfortunately they're just 2-2 over those 4. There's a lot to look for tomorrow night too. I know they play Toronto. You got Nylander, Matthews. You got that team that has offensive firepower, very similar to what we just saw last night against Edmonton. And the Rangers did a really good job against 2 of the best players in the league in Draisaitl and McDavid. And now you go into Toronto, you go on the road, so you get rid of that little home curse that's lingering around them. Can they play well defensively, keep it going defensively while also producing offense, or will they push too much to try to score goals because they know what's going on and kind of lose some of that defensive edge? That's what we're going to be looking out for tomorrow. We got a comment here that overall they're playing super well and have to be happy with that, but their top 6 personnel does concern me in terms of scoring. And I think that we're seeing more how Cooley isn't really a top 6 guy. We've just talked about that a lot, so far this episode. Cooley's better suited for a bottom 6 role, a third line role. I think that his game fits that, the physicality, the two-way style. He's not going to be a guy that's going to score a ton of points. And unfortunately, the Rangers have a situation where they're forced to play him higher than he should be slotted. And it's not a knock on him. I think he's done his job. But when your job is to do a little bit more than what you are capable of doing, it shows. And, he might still get his goals. He had a couple of chances. He's got 1 goal in the season, but ultimately you have a top 6 that does not include him. And he's sliding into that third line where he can make his usual impact and be as effective as he possibly can as a player. All right. So yeah, that's kind of where we stand. 2-3 through 5 games. Analytically, something that we haven't said often, the Rangers actually are ranking pretty high in the analytic department through these 5 games, but it's just sad that the results aren't there. And then you got Keandre Miller scoring 2 goals in his first game with Carolina. You got Chris Kreider doing his thing in Anaheim. Although I don't know if anybody watched Keandre Miller's 2 goals that he scored in that debut with Carolina. I don't think either one of them should have gone in, but that's what happens. People watch the other players, right? It's like the Jets when they're watching Aaron Rodgers do his thing in Pittsburgh. When you watch the Giants are watching Daniel Jones do his thing in Indianapolis. It's like, oh, why couldn't they do that when they were here? But for Kreider's perspective, he did it while he was here. I mean, that dude had a phenomenal Rangers career. And I think he got sucked into what was an abysmal season last year, and kind of unfair to judge or criticize him solely based off of that. But unfortunately, he was the guy that had the moderate no trade. He was the guy that they could have moved. And ultimately, that's what happened. So it's a tough pill to swallow when you see him doing well, but we do wish him the best. And yeah, the Ducks did. They got exactly what they needed, which is a guy that could help their power play. And the Rangers right now look like a team that could use a guy that could help their power play. If you had to ask me one thing that was wrong with the Rangers power play right now, it's 2 perimeter. Everything is to the outside and everything is stationary. If you watch the Colorados of the world, the Toronto Maple Leafs, the Edmonton Oilers, what they do on the power play is their 5 guys are constantly in motion. There is not a set spot. There is not a set play. There is not a reason to force feed the seam pass through the middle of the ice because the guys are moving. The movement is what creates the openings. The movement plus shots to the net early in the power play create the openings in the defense to expose. Right now, if you watched, I think it was the second power play that the Rangers had yesterday, they were stationary. They got a quick shot right off the draw from the point from Fox. That was a nothing shot. Skinner saw it all the way. And then immediately after that, Panarin has the puck on the half wall and tries to force a pass through the middle that gets picked off and cleared. That pass would work if they were getting strong shots and rotating around the zone, but they're not. And unfortunately, right now, they're kind of in this stage where they're trying to figure out the power play on the fly without their bread and butter Chris Kreider in the front of the net. I think that without Kreider there, it kind of changes the whole dynamic. You don't necessarily have a guy that can tip the pucks as well as he can. You don't have a guy that is a threat to not only tip the pucks to score, but also catch passes and throw it back to the bumper. And they've done that a couple of times. Miller did it with Zibanejad, who got robbed, and vice versa, but just haven't had that recipe for success yet on the power play. And when you're struggling to score, you need your special teams to come through. Penalty kill's been great. I don't believe they've allowed a power play goal so far, knock on wood. So can't ask for more on that side. Can't ask for more on the defensive side of the puck at all. It's really just an offensive-minded thing right now. So I know Zook's still busy. I don't know how much longer I could go. So I'm going to wrap it up. If anybody has any questions at all, you can feel free to tweet at us at NY Rangers Radio. We have a show coming up next week, either Wednesday or Thursday, depending on our schedules. I know we're all working, so it's a little bit challenging right now. But let's hope that tomorrow on the road, the New York Rangers will give us a little bit more offense than we're used to at home. See you guys.